I may flip my camera around right now. Actually, let me try that. I did not mean to do that. Look at the wacky things I get up to when Joe isn't here. Ka-cha! Stop being a whore. Stop selling your ass for crack. Stop. Oh, there's Joe there. Oh, hello. Bonjour. Hello. 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 Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Captain John. I'm joined here once again by none other than the cynic himself, Mr. Mass Cynic. Well, it's official. We have reached episode 60, marking the end of our 5th season of the show. And what an interesting season it has been, to say the absolute least. For season 5 of Forgotten, we had actually wanted to take a bit of a slightly different approach as to how we kind of mainly produce our seasons and mainly just slow down how we do them in general. We first decided we title season 5 the Golden Era, in reference to the fact that this season was to be focused on interviewing a couple of new guests, but mainly our old guests from our Legacy era, which is any episode prior to episode 22. This was for a few different reasons, but the first was that we felt with season 4, although we had found huge success in terms of views, subscribers, and even watch time, we had really essentially burnt ourselves out quite a bit. We started to feel like TFP was becoming less of something that we got to do and more of something that we had to do, which is just something that neither of us personally agreed with. The second reason was that we felt like some of our Legacy era guests did not get the quality that they deserve for the effort that they put into the initial debut episodes. And that since enough time had passed, and of course they've changed and our quality improved, that we'd invite them back on our show and see how they've changed in the past couple of years since their initial episodes. And the third and final reason was that we knew that at the end of season 4, we were approaching a new era of the show. An era where we would no longer be able to just invite guests on that we already knew and rely on friendships we had formed over the many years of us being online just to get people on the show. Our list of potential guests was just inherently starting to dry up, and we knew that if we wanted to continue the show, we would need to start meeting new people that we'd never worked with before, and that was just something that we never did before. So with all that being said, we progressed, and now we are finally at the checkpoint episode where we get to talk about everything that we have done this season with all the changes that have been done behind the scenes, and of course, what we think the future is for this show in general. So from here, we're going to go completely unscripted, and we're just going to chat, me and Joe, about the future of the podcast, how the season's been for us, and the changes that we made along the way. I do think we're going to leave the future of the podcast till the end, because it's kind of a bit, I know, maybe a bit more sad and a bit more obviously upsetting for some people, but we want to kind of talk about that at the end once we've kind of given our guests who came on this season the respect that they inherently deserve, in regards to obviously acknowledging how good their episodes were or perhaps weren't. So yeah, Joe is here. I don't know why he's just being very quiet at the minute.
Yeah, I just don't know where to read my bit of the script here. You know, the bit that follows up afterwards. So.
Oh no. That's we're all fine there. We're all fine there.
I know
think
there's no script. I just thought it was funny because you said there was, no script. And I'm infamously amazing at transitions. So.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we should just begin by saying, wow, this season has been quite a fucking long one, to say the absolute least. We have spent 2 years working on this season. This is something we're going to talk about more at the end of the episode itself, but 2 long years making this season, and it's kind of nice, to be honest with you all. I think Joe would agree. It's kind of nice to be here.
It's like when you finally let go of a loved one, and it's like, you just kind of been like, you've been on life support for such a long time, just fuck off. That's kind of what it feels like.
Pull the plug.
The sweet release of your really homophobic granddad.
Oh my god!
I think it's a good thing. But
you think? Fair enough. Sorry, I didn't expect that analogy. I think it's good to be here. I think it's good to be episode 60 and finally be able to record this. I'm not gonna lie to you all, for anybody listening, if you don't already know, I've talked about it on my own end, on my own streams and stuff like that. But in general, me and Joe have really been struggling this season to record episodes. We've been struggling to make time, to find time. And more recently, with the last 2 or 3 episodes, we were actually kind of worried we weren't going to be able to finish this season off, being completely wholeheartedly honest. Joe and I are very much aware that the fact that the site that we use to record these podcast episodes, which is called StreamYard, and we've been using it now for the past 2 or 3 years, it's coming to an end. Not the site itself, but our subscription to the site, mainly due to the fact that Nomads are broken up and that whole relationship's kind of went all over the place. So if me and Joe wanted to continue to use StreamYard, the Outcast, no, it was Outcast and Nomads.
I can't remember which one, to be honest. They were
Outcast and Nomads. But because of their podcast breaking up, which those people were like our collab people when it came into podcasting, because of that breaking up, that's kind of caused us to have to take a bit of a shift in how we want to do this show, and not we had to kind of make the difficult decision as to like we're not going to resubscribe to the platform and continue paying really, to be honest, ridiculous prices, because they are charging absolutely ridiculous prices. I believe it's up to like £50 a month now. They're trying to charge normal people to
and
use
between like two people, that's kind of nuts.
No, that's bananas.
For something we don't always use per month or earn money from.
Yeah, literally. Well, we don't really, again, have a full script for this episode. A lot of you may or may not know, red rated episodes and green rated are episodes where we don't have any sort of script. We have the introduction as a script, which Joel, I'm sure, will edit up, and that'll look hopefully relatively seamless. But aside from that, everything else is really unscripted. We have some topics and bullet points we want to talk about. But I guess the first one is what we think of this season's lineup and episodes and how they went for us. We always try and do like a kind of 3 episodes. We try and choose from the previous 10 which was our favorite personally, which was the funniest we think, and which was the most difficult, and which probably like in general was like the one that we least enjoyed the most, like that we enjoyed recording the least, I guess would be the wording.
I'm looking at this now, the list of our episodes from the season. I don't know how about you, but I've got a very clear favorite. I have a joint. I've got a. I almost say. I won't.
Yeah.
I've got like a 3-way joint least favorite.
Okay. Wow, that's all right.
I know.
Kind of a different boat, but I'm intrigued. So first of all, let's begin. Season 5 began with episode 51, The Joyful Tale of 2022. It was a follow-up to the Tragic Tale of 2021, which was, again, I was talking about how 2021 it went for us. It was kind of like a recap of that year. Me and Joe talked about how that year was for us, and it was really bad. And 2022 was seemingly a bit better for us. Joe had moved out of his mum's, moved into his dad's at this point in that episode, and he was kind of like in a bit of a better place, you could say, but things still weren't ideal. I had been evicted, which was why the Tragic Tale of 2021 was titled that. I'd been evicted, was living with my dad and my dad's girlfriends, and that was awful. And then 2022, things had changed for me a little bit. I was living at my dad's house, or in fact, no, I think at this point, in fact, excuse me, I'd moved out. In fact, I was living with my mum. So that's why it was kind of the joyful tale. It was us talking about that. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really rate the episode very highly. It doesn't stand out as like a unique episode. It was just something where we're just talking.
All of our red rated, this will probably happen with this one as well. Green rated is the
conversational episodes.
The every 10, right?
Oh, red is every 10.
So yeah, red is what I meant. Every red rated episode we do, I think because of the nature of what we're talking about, they're very prone to becoming outdated. So
yeah, true.
Like I can't really reflect on any of the red rated and be like, I really like that because that was me X amount of years ago.
Well, that's
I think you change so drastically in a year.
Well, 51 wasn't even red. 50 was the red one. 51 was just the beginning of the new season. That was just talking about 2022 and reflecting on it. And that was released in July 1st of 2023. So we were a bit late to talking about it by then anyway, which was kind of mad. We'd already kind of missed the ship a little bit. But it doesn't really stand out. Like you said, it's also in hindsight, it's hard to really fully remember what we fully talked about and the value of the episode. So yeah. Moving on from there, we had Dustin's MC, or Dustin, his episode 52. I liked that episode. It was good. It was weird. Dustin and BM30, who we're going to mention in a minute, they were two people that neither myself or Joe really knew. I knew who Dustin was and BM30 was, but I had never actually spoken with them or worked with them before, neither Joe. So to get them on was, like what we said in the introduction, it was something we knew we were going to have to start doing because, I mean, Joe knows this, I know this. We have kind of run dry with the well of people, influencers and stuff that we know that we could get on the show.
There is a limit.
There is a couple new people that like that met since we started the season that Joe was like, oh, I'd like to get him on the show. I forget the guy's name. You know what I'm talking about, Joe, though. He's the dude who, he's in the Brotherhood of Creators Discord and stuff like that. He's a really nice guy. Noah, he seems really cool. There was Noah, and there's a couple other people that I know from mine that I've considered and went, they could come on the show probably now. But the well is like tapped dry. You got to remember, if anybody listening, like we've done now 60 episodes of the show. Don't get me wrong, like we've done
and
a lot
also,
of green
I know 60 episodes is a lot, but also not only 60 episodes, but also for what, X amount of years? Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we started this in 2019.
and
So that's
prior
6 years. Yeah. Well, prior the original Forgotten
the Skype
podcast,
calls.
yeah, the Skype call, which aren't even on the internet anymore. They're completely lost media now, unfortunately, which is really sad. But we started this to be specific on October 20th, 2019. So, it literally will be 6 years this October, which is kind of mad to say. I mean, you can literally watch us over the space of 6 years grow and evolve as people. I mean, you watch some of the early episodes and you see Joe without the beard or long hair and stuff when he wears
Short,
short hair
yeah,
spike,
short hair. I've
short
got
hair
like the
spiked up, no
glass on.
beard.
I'm always wearing like a red flannel
Yeah,
type
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
I've
And
got
I
my
was
like
back at my
crappy
old house
green
before I got
screen.
evicted. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
different eras, really, to be honest. And I think our guests, you can see the lineup as it changes. It's the guests that are like more immature and kind of younger and less experienced than the earlier episodes, and then things change and stuff. But
Hmm.
for this season, like what I was saying, we didn't want to have a lot of new guests on. We knew we were going to have some because we had no one we could help like to fill in the
And also, I
gaps.
don't think it's like great to like rehash an entire season and be like, this is all the same thing again.
Yeah, yeah, we kind of were the whole premise of the season, like what I said, was it was our golden era. It was about remastering, so to speak, old legacy era episodes, like Septic Spud's episode, which was from episode 14. Essentially, he joined us for the first 3 episodes, but then he came back as a co-host in episode 14. So 40 episodes later, he came on 54. It made sense. Zebrist episode 57, he came on for episode 7. It was 50 episodes later. It made sense. Cairo, episode 9 of the podcast, he came on for episode 59. Again, it all kind of made sense. We did actually cut someone out. I don't know if Joe remembers. We cut out Ted with
I
Teddy.
remember. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how well that would have gone down, to be honest,
Yeah,
because
do I.
she's not to be putting out
Rude,
bad
rude,
energy,
rude, rude, rude. Yeah.
but she's like kind of got a skewed perception of our previous episode, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
almost sheds it in a sort of malicious light. And from the stuff that she said that she's not happy about us sharing is stuff that's, how do I put it, like, kind of, I don't want to say immature, but it's kind of stupid to be
It's
like,
redundant, really, to be honest.
I don't know how much of it I should share,
Yeah,
but
yeah. We
like,
probably should keep it a bit vague, but
it,
yeah.
it comes under the terms of identity. But it's stuff that they can't change. So, when it comes to their online history,
Yeah, yeah. When we originally talked about making this season, like because we kind of draft up an idea of like who would we want on, how would we want it to go. We had ideas, and for the remaster episodes, there was like really 3 or 4 people's names that stood out. We looked at episodes. Remember remastering only the legacy era episodes, which is episodes 1 to 22. So we looked at them and we went, all right, of those episodes, the 22 episodes, who did we have on that we really, really, really liked? Joe and I looked at me and went, well, like even though we weren't I wasn't on the best terms with Zebras, Joe was on good terms. His episode was really good. We kind of agreed that back then, and we still agree now. Like he put a lot of effort, and his episode was a good episode. Zebras' episode, Ted with Teddy's episode, Cairo's episode, Brad's episode. These are 4 people who were friends of ours who we could probably still get back on and who were cool. I even considered Super Shiftery for a hot minute, and I went, no, I didn't like him. I didn't like his episode. Wouldn't want to redo it, although I felt like it deserved better quality because it was our first ever interview.
I didn't like the episode doing it. In hindsight, if I went back, I probably wouldn't have cared as much as I did in the moment.
Yeah,
But I just found Super Shiftery such a difficult person to interview because I feel like he didn't I don't think he didn't want to not be there, but I think he wanted more control over the situation.
Oh, so, totally. There was a lot of bad energy with him with that episode, and that was from all parties, all sides. But yeah, so if our original plan for the season had went into effect, the way it would have ran was the first 5 episodes would not have been remasters. Essentially, Brad's episode kind of became a bit of a filler because we wiped Teddy's. But we also thought, well, we're probably not going to get Brad on next season for like episodes, 60 to 70 and remaster an episode in that season. It kind of, we don't want to do this with nothing but love to everybody that we've had on the show. There is a few people that we thought we could maybe get them on again in the future, but we don't want that to become a running theme that we keep getting people back on and back on because it's kind of boring. Like we've already had them on, they've said their piece, that's it. So unless enough things have changed, that's the only time we want to get back on. But we were like, well, we could get Brad on, but originally the lineup would have been, Septic Spud would have came on for episode 54, Zebras for 56, for 57 would have been Ted Teddy, and then 59 would have been Cairo, and that would have been how it worked out. It still worked out relatively the same, except for we just cut Ted with Teddy because Teddy had contacted us a little bit prior to that season, I believe, and was like, hey, could you take down my episode? Which you know, me and Joe both were staunchly against. Like, to clarify, no
Mm.
episodes of our show will ever be taken down. We have got complete creative control and right over that.
We
We
always get
interview those
people's
guests.
permissions, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also for that specific interview as well, we don't even interview Ted with Teddy as Ted with Teddy.
We interview as the Jite Crew,
Which
that
is an
was
era that was very different.
prior.
And
Yeah,
honestly, if it wasn't for her reaching out, you wouldn't ever make that connection. You
no, no,
couldn't tell they're
literally.
the same person.
Teddy essentially, she's grown and became an incredibly talented and very successful content creator, which
It's
I'm very proud of
Roblox,
her
right?
for. Yeah, Roblox, and she's became very successful, which again, very proud of her for. And Teddy, I just consider her a good friend. We really don't speak,
Mm.
unfortunately, nowadays, though. But still a good friend. But she just, when she contacted asking to get the episode pulled, it was like, no, we can't do that, Teddy. That would, like, how could we do that? That'd be episodes 1 to 5, or 1 to 5 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 would be missing, and then it would be 8, 9, 10. And it's like, no, we don't do that. Like, it was because she was worried she shared too much personal information on the episode, which even in
Which
hindsight she didn't. She said her real name, like just her first name and a few details about her life, but she didn't want some of that stuff being connected to her. So respectfully, we did kind of be amicable with her. We retitled the episode
we
from Ted
didn't
with
tell her
Teddy.
like fuck off or anything, for clarity, by the
No,
way.
no, no,
We
no.
were very open and
We're
we're
okay.
like, hey, from a creative standpoint, from our project, you've got
We're
to
not
realize
gonna.
that it is kind of detrimental. And also, in
Yeah.
complete fairness, like, and it doesn't devalue their feelings, but you know, that being up won't affect them. And also, if
No,
we took it down, it
it
would
wouldn't do
only
anything.
negatively affect us. Not a lot
Yeah.
of people. I mean, who knows? In the future, everything could pop off. But like in hindsight, not really anyone's gonna go back and watch like what
No.
episode 4,
Yeah.
so
Not
or
not
whatever it
really.
was,
Yeah. Or
14
episode
or
7. Yeah.
7. So let's see in between.
Yeah, either and or. So it was like, yeah, but what we done was the episode was originally titled The Jite Crew because Teddy's original YouTube channel that's got like 30K subs
Was a
on Minecraft.
group channel.
It was a group channel called The Jite Crew, and Teddy was the only member that came on to join us for the podcast because we knew Teddy. She even joined us for our first ever interview with Zebras, or not Zebras, Super Shiftery. So
Yes.
it was kind of like, all right, that's fitting. But yeah, it was originally called The Jite Crew, and then when she rebranded and took over the channel because she was doing all the work and made it Ted with Teddy,
Which we influenced. Yeah.
that was completely like, that was us. Once she done that, we respectfully like, yeah, we'll retitle the episode and everything after you because it was interviewing you. But then with all this coming out, we went, listen, we'll remove all the metadata, which is all the tags, descriptions, etc., titles, anything that included Ted with Teddy, and we'll rebrand it just as Jite Crew and even use the original thumbnail, which was the logo for the Jite Crew. So like you wouldn't even know it's Ted with Teddy's episode because it's called the Jite Crew now. But we done that, and then after that, we kind of both felt a bit sour about it. We are like, not in a disrespectful way. We are just like, I don't think we want her to come on. And I don't know. I just didn't really feel that right. I feel like as well it'd be a bit awkward with the other 3 legacy guests, Septic Spud, Zebrus, and Cairo. I felt like I had a better connection with them conversational wise and knowing them better.
Well, they've also got a bigger history with us, especially Zebras and especially
Yeah,
Brad. So
yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah, and you know, in that regard, yeah, and even Cairo had done work with me on YouTube playlists and series and stuff, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I felt like we had more of a chance of getting them to come back on as opposed to Teddy, so we scrapped that. So yeah, Dustin MC's episode I thought was good. It was kind of a shame because Dustin came on and he was an amazing guest. He was very polite to us both. He was lovely. He just didn't have a lot of time. He gave us like under an hour, so we had like 40 odd minutes to record it, and I think that was fine. It went very well.
I think
We didn't
Dustin
rush
told
it.
some pretty good stories. I think he
Yeah,
had
no, I
a
agree.
really good what's the word? He was really good at just storytelling in general, which I think
Yeah.
made it very engaging.
Yeah, Dustin's was really cool. Dustin was a great guy I wanted to get on the show. He was someone who I'd done a lot of research on. He was one of the most researched guests I've ever researched. I watched all of his videos. Dustin's been doing YouTube for like well over a decade, so it was really cool. I got to see him as this young man trying to do YouTube and then becoming now a father and all that kind of stuff. And it was a beautiful episode. It really was. And then that was a good episode. And then we went to episode 53, which was a huge letdown. I'm not gonna lie. That was BM30s. BM
I
was
don't actually remember much of BM30 apart from the odd thing of animation, something about eBay, and
yeah.
I think something about plushies. That's
Yeah,
all I really
so
remember.
BM was a guest who I'd found independently, and I thought, wow, this is a really talented guy. I personally really enjoyed, like with Joe's videos, I actually enjoyed watching them. There's many people I know in the community who are lovely people that have been on the show that I have nothing but love and respect and admiration for, but I don't always watch the videos because there's maybe just not always the most quality or the most interesting. It's maybe just a
Or
lot more
simply
something
isn't for
slot.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But BM30s were really quite interesting. He's a really interesting figure and guy. And I thought I would love to get you on the show. Again, this is someone I'd never spoken to before, like, Dustin. And he agreed. We got him on, but his quality was horrendous. I mean, if you watch that episode, his mic was echoing, it was having issues. It was fucking such a shame. It destroyed what would have been a beautiful and amazing episode. And that was a huge, huge, huge letdown. So for production wise, I mean, the script was great. I liked it. I liked the questions, but I absolutely hated the
Some
quality.
episodes just fall flat. Like there is a question, like when we're starting to discuss like our favorites and least favorite episodes, I would like to just propose that after we do that, can we also do a channel wide favorite and least favorite?
Yeah, for
I've
sure. I
got,
mean, yeah.
I think I've got both of those very easily
So wait, one
immediately.
favorite, one least favorite from like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
entire
So
history.
we'll
Yeah,
do obviously this season, and then I'm
yeah, yeah,
thinking we also do it for the entire channel
yeah.
because
I agree.
I can definitely name both of those.
I'd have to take a sec, but I definitely probably could as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So BM's was a bit of a letdown, and then there was this. This is where we kind of have a bit of a weird shift at your watch. And this season's production, like I've said already, it's taken 2 years. This is the longest season to produce that we've ever produced. Like with every other season, we'll get more into the specifics later on, but like they've always been about a year at max. This has been literally over 2 years now. And it's kind of sad, but like what you'll really notice is if you watch episodes 51, 52, 53, there's a fluidity with them. They're all like both me and Joe are in the same locations. We're doing the same things. And then you go to 53, or sorry, 54, which is Septic's episode, Septic Spot Returns. And I think there's two massive things that are apparent. One, for my end and for Joe's as well, is that we moved. We're no
Hmm.
longer in the same locations. We're no longer in the same offices. We've grown up a lot. Things have changed. There's clearly a time jump that's happened, which there is. It's a time jump of about a year and a half or a year. And obviously, like we changed in general.
I
Joe,
also
you
think,
still looked well, but go on.
well, I mean, like I think there's a thing where when we say there's been 2 years in development, right?
Mhm.
People will probably think, oh, well, you've done one every few months. There is literally like a year and a half of like stagnancy,
None,
right?
nothing at
Yeah,
all.
so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there is a massive, like, which is why it's
There's
so
huge
jarring.
jumps. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of the crazy thing about it. But yeah, so the first big thing that you'll have noticed if you watched episodes 1, 2, 51, 52, 53, they're all recorded. I was in my old office with the black background with like the sound paneling all over the roof. And another big thing was I was slimmer. I was very thin. I was the thinnest I've ever been at 170 pounds. I was looking good. In fact, I wear this hat in the BM30s episode and stuff, which is kind of funny. But yeah, like I look slim. And Joe, he was at his dad's, and things were different there. Joe was in a different place, and then all of a sudden now at 54, I'm fat, and Joe, and we're in two different locations. I know I put
I'm
it bluntly.
fat.
I'm
Yeah,
fat.
I do miss the as much as I would never live there again. I do love how that setup looked. Like
Hmm.
it was a cramped room, but it was just this dark box with the red YouTube sign like in the
Yeah,
background, and I
yeah.
think that looked for like video essays cosmetically really good.
It was nice. Yeah.
Just not practical in like any other aspect. And also there was the massive window. I'm not sure if you can hear people outside, but my window's wide open right now, and there
Yeah,
are
no, it's
people in my
fine.
garden
But
chatting
yeah,
really loudly. You can't hear it,
no, no, I
so
can.
it's massive improvements. So
Yeah. I mean, Joe
yeah.
used to heavily struggle with audio issues. We would have it a lot prior to recording because Joe had was it not like a main road outside your dad's?
Well, yeah. So like, literally, let's imagine like my camera right now is the room. This would be
Uh-huh.
the size of it. Like that is it. You can touch the
It's
door.
tiny.
That
Yeah.
would be it. Yeah. And then to my right, there would not only be this massive curtain, but it's also a curtain because there's like, literally, I didn't have a wall. In fact, I only had two walls technically because that wall was a window. This wall was plywood because it was a room that was built with a wall in between me and my younger brother, who at the time was like 5, so not a great age to be sharing a room with because
Yeah.
screaming, crying, etc. And then obviously, if it's daytime, I'm being blinded by the window. If it's nighttime, it's just like street lights, so it's consistent light, and
Yeah.
also it's a main road outside. It's not like I was overlooking, like right now I'm overlooking a cliff. If I look out my window, it's literally you just see a white cliff face because I'm like in like a chalk quarry area. Whereas then I would look out the window and it's just car after car after car after car.
Yeah.
When I was making my own projects as well, it was like the amount of audio I would retake and it would be a flawless take, and you just hear in the background or
Yeah.
like
Something go past
and
because you could
if you
audibly hear it. Like it was
mm,
audibly able to be
it
heard.
was
Like
so
straight up.
loud. But yeah, I lived like that for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And literally, if you go back to any old video, there is like a 90% chance you will hear at least one car go past.
Yeah, straight up. One for me, because Joe obviously eventually moved. Joe, like, obviously he's in a new setup now. His mum's, if hopefully it's cool to say that. He's a new setup and stuff. It's comfier, bigger room, way more space, better setup, the whole thing. He moved, and so did I. For a little bit of context, not to go too into it, the person I was living with at that time, where my main office was, the one with the old backdrop, that was mine. And Janine, she passed away very unexpectedly and stuff on December. What was it, December?
That was the Toy Story room.
No, that was the old room. That
was
the
one,
yeah, that was when I was living with my dad. This was one with the black sound paneling. You know what I mean? If you remember,
You've had too many backdrops, so I do forget.
I have. If you look at it, my backdrop has changed so many times.
I think you've had what, 5 or 6? I've had 3.
I've had my original house before we got evicted. My dad's girlfriend's house, when I had like the pinned up green screen, the wall, and the clock on the back. My dad's house when we got the new house, which is a Toy Story wall, whatever you want to call it. Then there was Janine's, and then there's this office. So yeah, 5 different setups that you watch.
Because mine was my original house where I grew up, like my childhood home.
Yeah.
Then it was the cramped room, and now it's this one.
And then back to your
this is nuts because this room is massive, like compared to what I've never had anything like this.
Yeah. So yeah, Janine, she passed away. When she passed away, I've obviously, of course, had to move out and stuff like that because the house was getting taken back. So I moved out and stuff. I've got a new office. That's what this is here, and that's on episode 53. I'm at Janine still. Same with 51, 52, 53, and then 54. I'm in this new office all of a sudden, which was still being done up. There was like, now it's fully kind of furnished and finished, but then there was still work getting done to it. We're still getting it cleaned up and done up and made into my own little space. So it was a lot. But speaking of 54, 54 was Brad's episode. It was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed having Brad on again. Brad's an old friend for both of us, but he's also an amazing friend and a good guest as well. Definitely one of the highlights this season. His quality was good.
Brad's episode is very, very good conversationally. I think there was some good back and forth. Sure. But yeah, I think once again, very good for storytelling.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pull it as a low episide at all.
No, same here. Brad was not only an amazing guest, but also he was, as always, well, a great conversation, a great person to have a conversation with. Brad has worked with us personally on like the first 3 episodes of the show, episode 14, and a few other episodes here and there. So he has got like experience working with us, and he flows very well with us. Like, I end up being the middleman. There's Brad here and Joe there, and it's kind of a nice kind of dynamic. And Joe and Brad go head to head sometimes, which is funny.
I mean, even in the original episodes we used to, when he was actually a host, sorry.
Yeah.
But I actually think it might sound harsh. I don't really want it to sound this bad, but I think Brad's episode sets a good standard for what, like, I think a good baseline mid-tier episode should be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd agree. I'd say Brad's is above that for me, but like, that's my personal opinion. But it definitely it sets a good default for what should be like the least bare minimum for a good episode, like a nice chill guest.
Because what I'm thinking is, I think if it's not as good as Brad's episode, it's not a good episode. If it's above it, it's quite a decent episode.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and it go from there. So yeah, Brad's episode 54 was pretty good. 55, the Nomads podcast.
We have conflicting opinions on this one.
Always.
I will also say, though, my opinion has drastically changed on it as time has gone on. And I will tell you mainly why. At first, I really enjoyed it. And I know you don't. But the thing is, like I said, I really enjoyed it. But as time has gone on, I've kind of not liked it as much for multiple reasons. Conceptually, I love this episode. I think we really needed some more jovial, fun, casual, laid-back episodes with no scripting and stuff, because it was
you
fun.
Had said that a lot. Joe was
quite
a fan of that idea. But yeah.
However, we should have done a test one, because I feel like I spent 90% of that explaining the rules.
Yeah.
And I think it really devalued the value. And when I think afterwards we all kind of were saying, do we do a reshoot? But no one really wanted to do a reshoot. I think we would have benefited heavily from retaking the whole episode.
I completely agree.
Because, I don't know. I feel like when your first experience on camera is you learning, that's not entertaining to watch.
No, that's
not. So I don't like it for that reason. The idea itself, I do really like. I also think I really wish it was better, mainly because I feel like it holds a really special place in showcasing what we were all like at that time.
At that time,
especially because of how
things have gone now.
dispersed this group is.
Yeah.
Not us, but with them.
No. But yeah, for a little context, there was a conflict with me because episode 45 was our first ever gold rated episode, which is now called yellow rated. We renamed. I'll talk about it later on as well. But episode 45 was our first ever podcast collaboration episode. This was an idea for a new gimmick in the series. We have already got a couple. We've got the red rated, which is us talking about the checkpoints, reflecting on the season. That happens once every 10 episodes. We've got green rated, which is more conversational, laid back, less scripted, just us talking about topics. Blue rated, which is interviewing guests under 500 subscribers, or sorry, between 500 and 10,000. And then purple rated, which is guests over 10,000. And that was us. We had those 4 premises. And we thought, well, we'll add something new in. A podcast collaboration would be a really cool idea to meet other podcasters, to work with them as a group, and hopefully as well try and get our podcast a little bit more exposure. Initially, the first episode 45, I didn't like. That was kind of we talked about before. That was we done 2 Truths and a Lie, which was the first ever. That was with the Nomads, the Nomad podcast. And Joe liked the episode. I didn't, and we even reflected on episode 50 that we felt kind of similar here.
I actually still think, in comparison to this new one,
it was better. Yeah,
I actually think it's infinitely better.
I know, I agree, and actually, in hindsight, I look back at the episode and I kind of like it now a little bit more as I've gotten older. I've it's looked better. But then what happened was since that. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was gonna randomly jump in and be like, I think at the time. I know we both have a different philosophy on what we think makes a good podcast, and I mean that is very subjective, and also there's no such thing as a good podcast. There's just ways of doing things.
Yeah.
So I think at the time you had quite a methodical, concrete rule on how to do an episode. And I think whereas I've always ingested episodes of different podcasts that never really have a concrete structure, and I think that makes it more fluid and fun. So I think that was a taste of that. I think in the moment you didn't realize that because you were set in how you like it, but now looking at how it can go wrong, you now realize, wow, that was all right.
Yeah, that was a good example. Yeah, that was actually a good way to put it. Yeah, no, definitely. 45 was good in hindsight, and I do genuinely look back at it and go like, no, that was actually a good episode. And then with 45 being done, we went, all right, well, 55, we want that to be the middle of the road. It's kind of looked at. It's like in between the beginning of the podcast, like the beginning of the season and the end of the season, let's do a collab. That's why we do them every 5 episodes. So 45, 55, 65, whatever. But we didn't know how to get on. Initially, there was talk to get the Shedcast on, which is Shedwards and his friend, but that fell through because Shedwards, we not heard from him in years. He became a dad, as you know, from episode like 20 odds when he came on to join us. That was kind of that ship had sailed. I wasn't really interested. Joe wasn't really interested. There was the idea of getting the Planet Podcast people on, which is Planet Dragon, Rolly, and the friend Liam. That didn't happen. There was a potential for it, though. We'd even started putting all the I guess ducks in order, whatever the expression is. I went on their podcast a while back, and then Joe went on, and then Dragon had never released the episode.
Yeah, my episode never aired, and in hindsight, that isn't a bad thing because it wasn't great.
No,
That's not only like, oh, they didn't do a good job because they were doing what they were doing, but I didn't have a lot to talk about back then.
Yeah.
So
and then so that happened, and then I said to him, I said, listen, we could maybe do a podcast collab episode. I said to Dragon and Rolly, I went, listen, if you guys are interested in podcasting, we've got 4 seats available for StreamYard. That means 4 different podcast groups can use it. We were using it as one, Nomads were using it, and then we had another seat and another one as well. So we said, if you guys want to use it, you guys could, free as charge. You're not going to have to split it halfway with us. If you do want to, once the subscription comes to renewing, it would help. More of us splitting it would be handy. And it didn't end up going to plan. They used it and they recorded the Joe's episode, but never edited it. Again. So they got Joe on a second time, made him sit there, talk and interview and all that kind of stuff, and then never edited it to the point where I actually edited up the episode for them and released it.
I also don't want to be that guy because I'm the editor of this, and I don't put like tens and tens and tens of thousands of hours into it because like I know I'm not the most I'm quite lazy at editing at the moment, but I do find that it didn't help that I actually think their questions were really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was kind of salvaged by the fact that you edited it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw shade. I just think,
no, just being real.
I think it was done in a way that was almost like a mockumentary, to be honest.
What happened was we gave them all the tools. I was in good terms with Dragon, so were you. Same with Rolly. Rolly's a good friend, so is Dragon as well. We went, here's all the tools to record your podcast, everything at a professional level, 1080p. Like, this costs us hundreds of pounds per year. Use it for free. they recorded 2 episodes, and then the second one they didn't have the decency to edit. And I'm saying decency. I'm not trying to be rude. That was on Dragon. It wasn't on any of the other members. Dragon was one who's supposed to edit. And he didn't. He lost interest. So it was a shame. But I edited up the episode, released it for them, and kind of wrapped up their podcast essentially with that episode, putting up a community post and stuff, because I knew that they likely were never going to do anything else with it ever again. And I kind of was like, listen, I really like this kind of media. I want to keep it online forever. So once that was released and I'd done that, the foundation had been set. We'd had Rolly on our show many years ago now. We'd had Dragon on, and obviously Joe had been on their show and I had been on their show. So we kind of crossed our paths. But to be honest, there wouldn't be much value in collaborating because their audience is our audience. You know what I mean? That's all the people that subscribe to them.
It's so intertwined with the Catman Joe group. So
yeah, it wasn't like a new group of people that we never even knew. So, and they seemed like they had no interest in podcasting. So we kind of caught the idea of collaborating with them. Another idea that came into the mix and never came to fruition, that would have happened in episodes 75, and it probably still will if we ever do it in the future, was a collab with Dustin's MC. Dustin, who was a great guest, he had a friend who we're going to get on the show as well at some point. He was hopefully going to happen next season. After interviewing Dustin and it going so well, I had already thought about it and went, oh, Dustin, you've got a good guy. A friend of yours, he seems really cool. Yeah, he's a great guy. You think he'd be interested? He even said he would be. He commented on the episode itself and would like, I'd love to come on one time. And they have a podcast called the Beardy Bros Show, and it's just two guys, with us two being two guys as well, and it would have worked really well. I think it would have been a lot of fun, but it was too premature to get them on. So the long way around that, what I'm saying is, instead of doing that, we ended up getting the Nomads on again, because they'd rebranded from the Outcast to the Nomads, and we're hitting it with like a second run of making episodes. So we got them on, and the first time we done it, we decided not. Well, the first time we done it, we done Two Truths and a Lie, which went well, and in hindsight, it was a good episode. The second time we decided to do another conversational game, which was Cards Against Humanity. But the big problem was, and Joe knows this, was I didn't know how to play, and I was kind of hosting the episode when it should have been Joel all along. But on top of that, we didn't have any sort of trial run. I'd never played it before, and so had a few other people, I think, in fact. So it was a shitty situation in that regard, and the episode just turned out quite poorly, to the extent where you and Hilo were kind of like advocating for us to remake it. You guys were like, yeah, I'd love to redo it. And then that kind of completely fell apart, because Hilo and Xavier, the two figureheads of that group, no longer went to work with each other, and that essentially split the group in half. Cheese and Hilo went one way, Xavier and Axe went the other. The Nomads completely ended and disbanded. And we were like, all right, well, we've either now got to find another podcast group that we've never worked with before and that we don't really know to work with, or B, just edit up the raw footage from the mock episode, the run-up, which is what we done. So yeah, I feel like that episode definitely could have been better. Could have deserved a remaster, like a second go. Unfortunately, never got it. But I do still appreciate it for archiving what was once an amazing friend group.
Do not want to jump the gun, because obviously we're going to do the favorites and least favorites. Mm-hmm. But I want to put it out there that isn't even my least favorite.
Oh wow! Okay.
Of this season,
this list. Okay, fair enough. Next up, we've got Zebrus Returns, episode 56. This was a tomfuckery episode. This episode had been a bitch because we had recorded this back when we recorded episodes 51, 52, and 53. So we were both back still at this point in time, our old setups. It was actually pre-recorded in like the July or something of 2023, when me and Zebrus had a bit of a heated argument and stuff, but we made up after it. It was recorded and it was done, and Joe had edited it. It was all done and dusty, but we couldn't release it until we done episodes 54 and 55. But like what Joe said earlier, we'd taken not just a couple months, but like a year-long hiatus from episode 53 to 54. And because of that, Zebrus has just sat there in limbo waiting to be released. So eventually it came out. I think that it was a good episode. I think he was, as always, a good guest. I don't think his quality was the best in terms of like his camera quality, but it was a good episode. I think it was a bit awkward, definitely, some aspects. But it was good.
I don't know how I feel about Zebrus's one, because I mean I get on with him now, and we speak not regularly, but like semi-regularly.
Yeah.
And like I've got no issue with the guy. I think obviously the whole payment stuff, like I mean I overlook that now anyway.
Yeah.
But like I get being angry in the moment, but even in the moment, I just felt like I don't know. It feels like the same sort. And this is gonna sound really bad, but please hear me out to the end of the sentence before you think I'm comparing this to something.
You're gonna say it's super shiftery. You're gonna say it's like similar.
No, I was gonna say I think it's the same sort of vein as the fucking Predator ones we've done.
Oh wow!
Not because Zebrus has done anything in that vein,
but more because we're
simply
playing a gotcha.
Because we're like we feel like we're some sort of higher power. And I think in a lot of ways you can pull that off, and it can be fun, it can be entertaining. But as as much as I'm a very glass half empty kind of person, it feels drastically spiteful, and I
Yeah,
don't think that was good for. And I mean,
us.
I don't think it damaged it, but I don't think it's good for the self image of TFP.
The problem was with that episode was the script for that episode was written by me, and the title when I was angry at Travis. I saw issues with him. So even the title for that episode, I mean, I remember acknowledging the title to Joe, and
Mm.
Joe's first reaction was like, "Oh," like Joe
Wow.
laughed because he Joe revels in this kind of
Well, yeah, because
crazy
it's
shit.
like I think I started giggling because it was just like
Yeah,
it's the guy's face, and then just next to the word like failure and disappointment, and it's
controversy,
like
failure, and rebranding, and it was like, ah, fuck, man, you come on, dude. It was a bit
literally ripped the
harsh.
bandage off. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really harsh, and you got to remember this was our like first time talking, me and Travis, since our falling out and all the drama, and we kind of went in there talking about all that and kind of getting into it all, and it just felt
Honestly,
harsh
props to him though. He handled
for
it so
coming.
well.
Yeah, he handled
Had
it very
absolutely
well,
no problems with it
very
afterwards. Like
professional.
if I saw my face with that like from that, I actually would have been like, you
He did
dicks.
take months to respond to it once it went up initially, but he did respond to it eventually, and I was like, fair enough. And
Mm,
that eventually led to me and him talking because after the
it's
episode was
valid.
recorded, to add even more salt to the wound, I blocked him after the episode was recorded. He tried to be friends and trying to be like making things cool, and I just went, I'm not fucking interested. I'm still not over this. Blocked him and left him for a
I
few
remember
months.
the prep before the episode. You were quite bitter about it all, and you were
Yeah,
just like,
I
"I'm
was
getting it
already at a
done,
bad
and I'm
place.
just like getting this content, and we're going."
Yeah, I was like trying to be a dick about it. Like I'll wear a pink fucking jumper and look as least threatening as possible, to try and make. And like Joe was wearing his pyrocynical pink kind of jumperish thing, and
Oh
we
my
were
Christmas
just,
sweater, yeah.
yeah, we just kind of took the piss a little. But like, it was still a good episode in terms of quality, in my opinion. But I do think you're right that that kind of bitterness was in the air, and it kind of was almost like tasteable. Which did somewhat sour that episode's full on quality. And Travis did deserve better. He was a good guest. Episode 57. This was another huge jump towards the end of the season, the past couple of months more recent. Feed Stuns. Feed Stuns came on and joined us, and Feed was actually kind of a replacement guest. Feed's episode was 57, which is where Ted with Teddy's would have been. But because we weren't doing Ted with Teddy's, we had that now gap of
I
who was going to
think
get
an
on.
infinitely better choice.
Oh, for sure, without shadow of a doubt, infinitely better choice. He'd wanted to come on the show for a long time. Like he'd messaged us, he'd emailed us, he had like memed and watched our episodes for years, and he was an amazing guest on the show. Like straight up, one of the massive highlights of the season. Feed came in with such great energy, but also like it was kind of humbling a little bit in a beautiful way because like Feed came in and came in as like a fan. Like he came in and was like a bit stuttery and a bit like on edge, not in a bad way, but I think it was because he'd watched us make this show and watched it for the past 5 or 6 years since he was a young kid, and now he was finally coming on, and it maybe felt like to him a bit of like a reaffirming the fact that like we do look at him as a mutual, like as another fellow creator and someone who's like on our level, not as like we're on a pedestal, but like in a sense of just we're equals. And I think it genuinely did mean a lot to him, I think, and it was quite evident that he was very respectful. He was an amazing guest. That episode, when I was writing it, it was half and half. I read it from a place of just general interest, a lot of the questions, but there was also a couple that were kind of in there that I felt like were a bit more of that bitterness because prior to that episode, I had a bit of a weird kind of thing with Feed Stuns where I felt like Feed was trying to copy and imitate me quite a lot. And not me now, but me when I was 2019, like my 19-year-old self when we started this show, the more edgier, kind of like more like toxic kind of Catman Joe, where it was like a bit more trying to start drama and having a
I
bit
actually
more of a
don't
toxic thing.
remember. I don't remember this being. I'm not sure if you've told me this before, actually, because I don't know. It's I can't ever see feeds being like 2019 you in a way, but
It's
I
more
think it's also when you say edgy as well. I think that's almost. Is it weird to say like TikTok
unanimous.
brained?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like with all of
I,
his
I,
stuff that he did do with like
when I
brain
was
rot.
saying with that, it was more because like Feeds had watched me from very early on, like 2019, if not prior to that, and he'd watched me as a viewer before he started YouTube. And then he started YouTube, not because of me, but I'm sure I'd influenced him quite a lot, of course. And he'd done Minecraft and whatnot, and then he even started rebuilding the stuff that I'd built on my worlds, and he started copying it as like a kind of a copy of a copy on his worlds, which was kind of funny. Called his worlds Atlas and other things that were just clearly taking from me. And in hindsight, again, it's always been the big adage of like imitation is the biggest form of flattery, but I've always taken imitation as an attack because like if you're trying to copy what I do, you're trying to take from my plate. And I
Like
started to get a certain,
competition.
yeah, and I started to get a certain kind of way about it. And there was just at points I was kind of getting a bit bitter about it, and I got very bitter about it towards him and Cairo actually as well, because I was doing poorly in terms of views. Like my views had dipped for the first time in years under like 100K per month, And I got a bit better on a couple of streams or one or two streams and was like, I just, rambling off the top of my head as I do, and was like, oh, it's fucking, they're doing this repetitive garbage kind of Minecraft duplication glitch over and over and over again. Like, they need to start focusing on more creative content, which I still agree with, but it was harsh. I came across as a harsh dickhead who was just essentially being nasty towards them because they were doing well. And that only came from a place of, being honest. That came from a place of just bitterness, but also as well a place of what's the word? Jealousy.
Malice.
You know what I mean? Jealousy. Because I was like, you're doing better than me. How the fuck is that happening? But it's because they're working harder. And yeah, it was a shitty kind of feeling. But yeah, when Feed came on though, as I was researching him more towards the date in which he was coming to join us, I was watching his member podcast, which is quite like my member vlogs, and watching his episodes of that, and kind of watching his streams, and really, really kind of watching him as I do with any creator we get on the show, kind of deep diving into them and kind of trying to view them not as myself, but as a viewer, as a follower, as a subscriber, as a fan. And I kind of sat there and was like, this guy is a genuinely good soul. Like, he's a really good person who he's not got any malice in him. He's not trying to fuck people over. He's not trying to do anything horrible. He's just trying to grow and trying to find who he is and trying to build his own personality, which he's clearly doing successfully. So by the time he came on the show, I was like, anything that I'd had, it went under the bridge, water under the bridge. And I was like, I just want to have a good time with him and have a good interview. And it went really well. I think his episode was a huge highlight this season, without shadow of a doubt, especially the latter half of the season. So yeah, would you? I'm presuming you'd agree with that.
I was just going to say, in general, I think Feedstans had like amazing banter and skills to just like blend into the group really well. Yeah. I think he was probably the most seamless guest, actually. He almost didn't feel like a guest and like someone we were just there to hang out with. So
yeah,
I completely get with that.
I agree absolutely. With that. So that was 57. 58, Cause Tense. We actually just recorded that, the other day, in fact. Coda's episode was one of the most daunting as a task to take on for us both, because we've been trying to get Coda on to record his episode for over 2 years. We actually originally tried to record his episode way back in July of 2023, and it just never worked. We tried the first time, his camera wasn't working, DSLR, which is a very expensive camera, wasn't working, so we went, we'll rendezvous and do it next week. The next week, Joe was on Wi-Fi issues, and we'll do it the week after that, and then Coda had things come up, and we just had to cancel. And then we tried a couple of times from there afterwards, but nothing had happened. And Coda was going to go down as like one of the 3 flaky guests we've ever had in the show. Flaky guest is a term that we've flung around for a good few years now.
There is a number 1 spot.
Number 1 would be Icy Ops for sure.
I thought you were going to say,
Modest. Well, Modest.
Oh yeah, I was going to say 1. Modest.
But like, I mean, when it comes to actual people that have been on the show who made it happen.
Oh, Icy Ops.
Yeah, Icy. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Icy Ops was like kind of the first person that we ever had that kind of made us develop the word, flaky guest. A flaky guest is someone who agrees to come on the show, and then because of how long it takes us to get them on the show or whatever it may be, they end up going, I'm not interested anymore, even though we've already spent weeks or months researching, writing a whole script for them and planning. Or they just delay it and hold us up. And that happened with Icy Ops. That happened with Modest 517, who was meant to come on this season as well, but never could happen. In fact, it literally was him not agreeing to come on the season was a catalyst that totally made me cut ties with him communication wise. I unfollowed and stopped speaking to him because I was like, listen, I feel like I'm kissing your ass. Like, I've messaged you, 8 or 9 times now over the past 2 or 3 years, and you never responded, even though you've seen them all. You've unfollowed me on your personal account and obviously your Modest 517 account. Don't know what I've done wrong. Don't know where the problem is, but like, essentially, fuck you. Like that was.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, you don't want to come on. It's like, just say you don't want to come on. Yeah. Like, we would happily take a decline.
Yeah, that is the big thing. If anybody wants to come on our show and says they want to come on, we'll take them at their word and we'll get them on the show. It might take a few weeks. It might take a few months. We have things that happen in between.
2 years.
We do 2 years. But like, we will get you on and we will make it a good episode. We promise. But if you don't want to do it, just say no. And if your mind changes at some point, say no as well, or at least even, like, give us a chance. It's not an hour of your time. But yeah, Coda's was like one of the most daunting to do because it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. We only recorded it the other day and only managed to get it done, I mean, essentially last minute. And even at that, the quality wasn't great. Coda was a great guest, but his quality, he downgraded all of his equipment and really
he sold a lot of it as well. It's just like, I don't know. With Coda, I think once again he's same sort of level as like how I would rate Brad's episode. Like, it was good, it was decent.
Baseline,
it's all right. I mean, I don't think there was anything that conversationally stood out in terms of like that's the most memorable thing. Maybe the stuff about AI, but other than that, it's like I couldn't recount all of it to you. Like it's not
it's a shame.
as insightful.
It's a shame because Coda's episode, for anybody who doesn't know, again, we tried recording it 2 years ago, and like I said, it didn't go to plan, but we did make an episode out of those failed recordings because it was a lot of work. We've been there for hours. That was episode 48, the episode that never happened. You can still watch it, and it's kind of essentially like a funny moment. It's a green rated episode because it's not a normal episode, but that is there. And because of that being 48, we went, right, we'll get them on for 58, 10 episodes later, and actually do it as a follow-up episode. And we did, thankfully, but his camera quality was horrendous. It wasn't good. The topics we brought up with him were really good script. It was one of the best scripts I've ever written, but with the quality, that kind of felt like it belittled it a little bit.
I also feel like we would not just like him and not just us, but I just think as a whole, we were all kind of very prone to being like, oh, okay, next question. Oh, okay, next question.
We all kind of had
we do
this
tangent quite a lot. Usually in a lot of episodes, which I think sometimes is what sparks the best bits.
Best conversation.
Whereas there was no room for that.
No, Coda said that he had work that day, and it was like kind of we're just getting as much time as we can out of record, and we did it. And I think the quality shows. It wasn't a terrible episode, but it was a shame because I deserved to be so much better. That was an episode that took 2 odd years to plan out and to make happen. Multiple revisions because the script had to be updated, questions had to be removed, new questions had to be written, and it should have been a lot better, unfortunately. It kind of was a sad letdown in that regard. He was a great guest, Evan. I mean, he was as always a very lovely and amazing guest, like Feedstons and others. He was an amazing guest, Evan. I don't want to put any level of blame on him in that regard, but it was just in quality, in terms of production quality, I don't think it was there. And then lastly, episode 59 that takes us to, which is Kairos. Kairos was another great highlight from this season, I would say. Trey or Cairo, he was, I guess he came on for episode 9. This was another return episode. And he came on with a broken arm. He did seem to be a bit of a flaky guest.
Sparked a good story. I think he was very motivational. I think he had a lot to speak about.
Yeah.
But, I rate Cairo as one of the higher tier episodes of the entire thing.
I completely agree. Trey was someone who I want to get back on the show because I've known Trey for many years, but also his story had taken a very lovely turn. Trey had somewhat left the internet to get himself in shape and lose all the weight. Trey was morbidly obese, was very overweight, talks about in his episode. And it was something that was very apparent, like he needed to change his life. And he did. I mean, if you see how he looked in the original episode, obviously you can't really see him because it's not got face cam, but if you see how he used to look on his Instagram versus how he looks now, it's night and day. But he lost all the weight, got a girlfriend, got a good job, and then more recently broke his arm. And that's the story he tells us in that episode and some more stuff. And it's really interesting and a really good conversation. The conversation was good the entire way through. There was a mistake that was made that wasn't in the final cut that you'll not even know. Joe had, this is on Joe a little bit, not in the terms like point and blame, but like, knows what I mean. The episode was scripted. It was a new thing I started doing. Instead of just writing questions, I tried to connect questions and have them flow. So say we're talking about, like, for example, Feedstons. We talked about his TikTok for the first 2 or 3 questions, then his YouTube for the last 3 questions, and rather than doing TikTok, YouTube, and kind of pulling the conversation back and forth between 2 different, things, subjects. But with Trey's, it was talking about like his YouTube stuff, and then eventually towards the end it was going to be, or the middle actually, not the end, the middle, it was going to talk about his bad YouTube stuff, him stealing thumbnails, him being a bit uncreative, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end it was going to talk about his weight loss, which was the most positive aspect of the episode. So it would have been started off really well, and it would have came down a little bit negative, and then went right back up with high energy at the end. But accidentally, just due to us being on Notion and Joe not being too familiar with it, he ended up skipping one of his questions.
But kind of made
it fucked up the flow and the momentum.
Feel like it was like, oh, so by the way, like YouTube's going really well, but like fuck you. And then instead of it going from like that to back to being nice, it just kind of ended on a negative
went down.
Note.
And he had to go because he had to leave and go get his operation.
So I ended up cutting a question, right? Like I think I cut one
or 2 questions.
It's like we had a really nice weight loss story, and I had the really cool story about the broken arm and stuff from the arm wrestling and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was such a high, and then it was just to be like, oh, this is so good. Oh, I know you're rushing on the way out.
And then you stole thumbnails.
And then answering like a really bitter one. Like, it's just leave it.
It left a bad taste in our mouths. And even Joe was like, I think I'll cut that out. He said that like after the recording, and I was like, no, I completely agree. I messaged Trey, and he was like, no, you don't have to. I went, no, I think that was not handled the way I wanted it to be, and I'm really sorry for that. And I mean, with honesty, Trey's episode as well had originally a different title. It was very harsh, like Zebrus's, because
I don't think anything is as harsh as Zebrus's.
Nothing is as harsh as Zebrus's. But with Trey's episode, what happened was originally it was titled, and I don't know if I can find the original title here, to be honest. But originally it was titled something like what was it? I don't know if it was like lack of motivation, creativity, or something else. It was like very like struggling with
Is it
creativity
not like
and
demotivation and burnout or something? I think it
something.
was
Yeah,
something.
it was very negative to say the least. Though, like it was genuinely very 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 negative. And yeah, in hindsight, I didn't like it. We ended up eventually renaming it to Losing Weight and Gaining Views, which seemed like a really kind of badass title for Trey, which he definitely did deserve. But
I will say, I
yeah,
think we're the most pessimistic forgotten podcast, which I would like to also mention. I'm not sure if you've looked recently, but there used to be one other forgotten podcast. There is now four of us.
is there actually?
There is four of us. One of them has more subs than us, which we know about, the history
We know
one.
about that. Yeah,
And
we
there's
know about
two
that for a while.
smaller ones now, both with 200 subs.
Fuck, I never knew
So
that. Wow,
why don't we all get into a call and we have a
we have
massive
a fight?
forgotten podcast off?
Yeah. That'd be good. I like that. An orgy of forgotten podcast.
Okay, I wouldn't
Well,
phrase it that way.
no, you must say no. But well, and that takes us now to 60. So I guess what we'll play the game. What was our
And
least
this
favorite? And what was our most? What was our least and most favorite from this season?
How do you want to do this? Least then favorite, and then
We'll go least and favorite. I'm gonna take a second just to think, because I
you
feel
have
like
to think about it.
I feel like I do.
I have a joint least favorite, and well, I said I had a freeway least favorite, didn't I?
I'll let you go first with your least
Right.
favorite.
Okay. I've also hinted at which one isn't my least favorite, but my joint for least favorite is the Nomads one, the Zebrus one, and honestly, BM30, which I
Right.
don't think would shock you. I think if I
No.
had to choose out of those which ones I hate the most, it's probably BM30.
I'm exactly the same.
Because
Yeah, I'm
I
exactly
don't like
the
the
same.
Nomads because of we didn't retake it. Zebrus was spiteful but not terrible. Nomads was like there's at least a new value of this is something new.
Yeah.
BM30 is just around the table, not a fantastic episode.
Yeah. That's an amazing. Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. Zebra says in hindsight it was very spiteful, but it was good quality in my opinion. It was all good quality. The script was good
It served a
quality. It
purpose
was
at
just
the
it served a
time.
purpose, and it was of decent. It was kind of like the end of that story in that chapter, which I think was of value. So I hold that quite well, but I definitely do think it was below par a little bit in terms of like the spitefulness and all that kind of stuff. Nomads podcast and BM30 were kind of head to head, but I appreciate the Nomads podcast episode being the last bit of media that we ever will record with them as a group. So I'm going to hold it higher there in that regard. But it would be like probably the second least favorite.
Oh yeah, Nomads is definitely second favorite.
Second, definitely that
Favorite,
episode.
least
Yeah.
favorite Zebrus. But to be
My
fair,
least
you know
favorite
what?
full on was BM's.
Yeah, I mean, I actually would even throw in 2022, but I also don't feel I can count those in my ratings because,
Yeah,
like I
that's
said,
not
they're very prone to being outdated.
Yeah, I think 2022 is a lame episode. It's not really the most interesting. It's below the par.
It's
but
lame. It's not
it's
bad.
No, it's not bad. It's just a bit lame. So that in hindsight, but yeah. So I'd say BM30s. The quality is what destroyed it for me. If his quality had been good, I would have loved it because BM was an interesting guy. He had a good script. It was good, but he just seemed to let it down, and he didn't promote the episode at all or anything. So I mean, that was also a bit of another kick in the face. But yeah, so that'd be me. I mean, from this, from our entire catalog, if we're gonna do the one for one, what's our least favorite episode of all time?
Are we doing least favorite of all time, and then we're gonna do favorite of this season, then favorite of all time?
Well, I mean, what we'll do? No, we'll do favorite of this season as well. We'll do that.
Okay,
right
all right. Well, yeah.
now. Do you want me to go first since you went first last time?
Yeah. So we'll do the favorites of this season, and then we'll do least favorite of the whole thing. Then it's ending on a positive.
Yeah. Totally.
Go for it. I think we'll have the same answer.
I think we will. Most favorite of this season. It's hard because I really like Dustin MCs for the script.
Mine's also, a straight line.
I really, really, really like Feeds because Feeds was a great guest and he was amazing. It is hard. Cairo was also a great guest, but there was some issues with the episode in terms of production. I think the only two that fully Zebrus, excuse me, Septic Spuds also was good, but again that was kind of more baseline. I think the two that head to head for me is Dustin MCs and Feed Stuns. But I'd say if I have to choose between them, it would be Feeds because Feed Stuns was a more engaging guest. He was someone we already knew. We had a history with.
I think you'll start to really see my perspective on what I like in a podcast by the fact that I rate Feed Stuns the highest, because out of all of the episodes I think we've done this season, the only one I would rank like perfectly above average is Feed Stuns.
Yeah.
The other ones are either okay or bad. It's not a bad thing. I just think it's critical evaluation. I think Feed Stuns was by far the best episode we had. I think Cos and Cairo. Saying that I think Cairo would be a very
He's a
close
close.
second.
He's a very close. I think he's a very close. Although unfortunately, it just doesn't like there was some issues with that episode in terms of like how it all went, but also as well like his quality wasn't the best. Feed's definitely held up in quality and everything else here. So,
and I really,
yeah.
this sounds really bad, but I really don't remember much about Dustin's episode.
Fair enough. That's fair.
So,
yeah.
But that also was a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
I agree. Yeah. Well then, yeah, I guess that's us for that. What is your least favorite episode of the Forgotten Podcast then?
This I think we agree on.
Super Shifters?
No, Rolly.
See,
okay, right, hold on. Let's do a thing real quick, right? I think right. Are we including every episode? Like we're not
every
like
episode.
not. So even the ones where we like, because the thing is, if we're including every episode, I would put the first few down because where we've got no aim and it's really quiet and no one really knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
If we're including purely interview based content,
right? Okay, let me put it like this. Let me put it like
right,
this. Right, we can have least favorite from old era, legacy era, which is prior to episode 22 and prior to StreamYard, and then least favorite from the new era. If it's the old era, Super Shifty by far. If it's a new era,
I agree.
I agree. 100%.
New era Rolly Egg, absolutely. I also think all of the Predator ones are also on that level.
But those are like legacy era, so yeah, we can leave them there.
Yeah, I like to bring up the fact we did that because I think it's really funny.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But it's and I will say this isn't my favorite, obviously, but an honourable mention. It's really bad because I'm just going to refer to him as the one thing I remember is Hot Dog Man.
Oh, Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. Yeah,
you didn't like that.
No, I was honorable mention, as in like I think he was
one.
he was an underrated gem.
He was an underrated gem. Yeah, there was a lot of them in general, but he definitely was. He put a lot of soul into that episode. Yeah,
I think our favorites will be different.
I think we will. We'll probably go for like a top 3 favorites. Who knows? Because it's hard to really choose.
Okay,
one.
let's do a top 3 favorites. I'll actually have to look at the channel.
I'm on it right now, so I've already kind of got mine in mind.
I know my number one.
I do want to just say, Shifteries is my least favorite of all time of every episode, legacy and new, because of Shiftery's quality of that episode and also because of the hostility we went into that episode with. That completely soured it. There's 56 questions written for that episode. A lot of them were really fucking lame, really boring, really dull. It was our first ever interview, and I look at that as our worst episode to date. Rolly's is the worst episode of recent time, and unfortunately I hate to say that because Rolly's a good friend and Rolly really is doing well for himself, and I love him to bits and I appreciate him as a friend, and I don't want him to feel like, oh, what the hell. It's just because I think he was still very young, he was very mature, and he had a lot to learn still. And him coming on the show, he didn't give us his full attention. He didn't give us his full effort. And I just feel like that was on us. I think we should have held off to get him on later on when he was a bit more grown up. But we didn't, and that was the episode that we got. And I feel like that episode, it was good because that was like scheduled to come out literally at Christmas. We like gave him every kind of like opportunity to be like a really great successful episode for the 20s, and it just didn't end up being well. So yeah, that'd be my reason for Rollies.
Just type this down real quick because I actually I have my lineup now.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking, right now. I'm looking right now, and yeah, if I had to do top 3, let me know whenever you're ready.
I'm ready, and I also want to say mine are very spread out.
Oh wow, okay.
Like there is no recency or nostalgia bias here. Like there's genuinely quite a big change in the time that goes past here.
Okay,
valid. I think you will know one of them very easily. I think the other 2 will catch you off guard.
Yeah, I'm almost certain I'll know one of them very easily. I think. All right, well, I'll go first for my favorites. My favorites of the entire.
Go 3, 2, 1. By the way, first one for last.
3, 2, 1. It's hard because if I'm choosing 3, I don't want to choose 3 all from the same season. But really, season 4, which is episodes 40 to 50, that was a golden era for us. We were very productive. We had some of the best lineup of guests. We had One Ball, who's now one of our most successful guests. It was really, really, really good. If I choose though, from I guess third from like top to bottom, the first that like the last I guess on my list for like the top 3 would be probably Z-Storm. Z-Storm was an amazing guest. I really love him to bits. I loved him. He was an awesome guest, a great energy. One of Joe's directed episodes, and it was one of the finest episodes we ever did, and I really liked that. After that would be literally the episode just before his, which was 46, which is Cassandra Lynn. Cassandra was a wacky guest, but she had a really good story.
If I had 4 slots, she would have been my 4th.
Yeah. She's in my number 2 slot because of her story, because of her background, because of everything.
The working at the Morgan stuff like sits with me.
Yeah, in fact, no, in fact, excuse me. I'm gonna budge her up to number one. She's like my favorite
Wow,
episode of all time. No, dead ass.
Jesus,
I really liked
I
her
actually
episode.
didn't expect that.
I
That's
really
crazy.
that she's my favorite episode of all time. I loved researching her. She was an amazing woman, an amazing guest, and it was like one of the most quality episodes we ever had with an adult. In my number two slot, then it was going to be my number one. It's kind of weird because it's more like you might think for analytics, but it is our most popular episode. It's going to be Pandas. Pandas was a great episode because of the views, but
Yeah,
also because of the topics talking about Twitch and the
Panda is
downfall of
so
it.
insightful and has a lot to
Yeah,
talk about. So
yeah,
no, I agree.
I think has a mad. It's kind of mad because that was 41 was Pandas, 46 was Cassandra's, and 47 was Z Storms. Again, the 40s were a solid fucking like that was a solid season for us. But yeah, that'd be my top three. There. What about you?
Right. Okay. So my first one is a little bit ironic, but I do hold a very special place because I find it so fucking funny. And I have to, and you're gonna go actually fuck off, but I
Is it
actually
locked
think
up?
it is locked up.
I knew it, dude. Holy shit.
Dude,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh my
will
god,
never
dude.
forget the moment where we said, "What is your life dream?" And he said he wanted to be a
Yeah,
fucking like travel
a real.
agent and
Yeah,
like a real estate agent.
yeah.
And then
Oh my god.
with the absolute seriousness, and then he would like look off the camera like he was like envisioning, and then his fucking phone fell in like
No,
off
yeah,
the
his
desk.
camera fell off the desk. He was also talking about, I think, like what was it, like eating mud or something gives you cancer or some shit, and we were just like, what the fuck? Oh, dude,
I
he was
love him.
he was our funniest, one of our funniest episodes, I'd say, definitely for
I
sure.
think he's amazing. I think this is the one you wouldn't expect as well. At number two, I don't think I appreciated it as much in the moment, but afterwards I really started to actually grow a bit of a bond with this person, and we did chat every now and then. We had a lot of good banter in the episode, and
Oh, you've
honestly,
got
it's
me
fucking
intrigued.
Vloop.
Wow, I did not
It,
expect that. Yeah, Vloop was an amazing
I
guest. Vloop was
love
amazing.
Vloop. I think he had a lot to talk
Yeah,
about as well. He had a really
yeah,
like almost it was like almost an upsetting past. But he had such
hmm
a radiant energy. I know recently
yeah,
he's kind of been in and out of whatever. I don't speak
yeah,
as much
yeah.
anymore, but
hmm
I have got nothing but good things to say about
Oh,
him.
same, same. Vloop was
And
a lovely guy.
so yeah, I think that was my right hook. I think my
Yeah,
first and my third are quite predictable.
yeah.
And my first is your third. It's Z Storm because
Z
I
Storm.
think one he was such a big inspiration to me, despite him also kind of taking his path in my footsteps a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
he helped me with a lot of things, and you know it's sad because he has a
Since
few
privatized
times
everything.
now
Oh,
come back and vanished, not YouTube wise, but as like on Discord or something. Every now and then we
yeah.
have catch up, and he goes, "I've got mental health problems. I've got to disappear," and I respect that. It's sad, but it is what it is.
It
But
is what it is.
that
Yeah.
moment immortalized is really important. He's on videos on my channel. I think honestly, he's a phenomenal commentator. He's got the voice for it. He has the skills for it, the
Oh, dude,
editing
he
for it.
had so much skills. Yeah.
It's always the ones that are so good that vanish immediately.
Vanish and leave. Yeah.
But
That is yeah, definitely the truth. 100%,
yeah,
man. I
Knock
agree
Knock,
with that though.
Vloop,
Yeah.
Z Storm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Z Storm,
really
Panda, Cassandra.
what you know what really annoys me, and I know we privately have spoken about this, and I don't want to go into too much details. It's kind of private, and it's not really our place to say
No,
here.
no, no. Yeah.
But I'm kind of upset that Kiwi has never made it to that stage. Because
No.
I actually wouldn't even say honorable mention. Like
No, I
I
wouldn't
think
even.
it was a
Same.
good episode. I think it was nostalgic. But if you're not us, what
No.
value does it hold?
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Kiwi was, the forgotten third podcast host is what we kind of called them. But Kiwi was a friend of ours from many years ago. I met Joe with Kiwi. You know, those two were like attached to the hip playing Halo 4 and stuff back in the day. But I've known Joe as long as I've known Kiwi, and Kiwi's a good friend. Kieran, his name is. He came on for episode 13, which was called the Forgotten Fourth Podcast Host. And back then he was talking about wanting to get back into YouTube, and he was going to do this and going to do that and all this shit. And then 2 years later, well, not even 2 years, sorry, 3 years later, whatever it was, we got him on for episode 43, 30 episodes after his, which is called The Three Amigos. It was a lot of fun, but it was also kind of shit because it was just like, he was like, I'm going to get into doing YouTube. He literally messaged me the other day and he's like, I'm going to get into doing YouTube again. And I'm just like,
I think he's been saying that for about 7 years, to be honest.
there's 7 years.
Like,
It's like, dude, you're 7 years too fucking late, man. Just give it up if
yeah,
you're not going to do it, man. Just
because
do it.
I feel like it's always been, we're all on Xbox 360. Oh, wait till I get a HD PVR. Wait till I get a PS4.
Oh, yeah.
It
And then you got
happens.
PS4
It then
and you
doesn't
never streamed, never
happen,
recorded.
and then
Yeah.
it's wait till I get this. Or I remember I DM'd him privately once, and his whole thing was, I'm not going to start till I've got art made and branding, and it's like you don't have to
It's
do
like,
that
dude,
yet.
no, man. The hardest part is just getting started. If you can't even get started with everything being right, you're never going to get started. Like, just never. So yeah, it's a shame. I do wish Kiwis could be held in a higher regard or respect, but no.
And is there another question? Just another question here. I just think it's interesting, and I have an answer for this, which is why I'm going to propose it to you as well. Is there a guest that you've not had on that you really wish you did have on? Not want to, but wish you did, because I do.
Oh, that's a good question. I there's not really anyone that I can personally think of right off the bat. I mean, as you know, in Notion, which is what we use for TFP now, we have a script area and we've got ideas and we've got archive. I think the ideas section will probably give me an inspiration as to who maybe, but there's not really anyone that I personally have been like, I really, really, really want to get on. I'll let you go first. You say your piece and I'll have a look and
Christina.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's sad because I
Yeah.
feel like she puts no effort into me anymore. And it's
Yeah.
fair enough. We're all adults now. She's got her own thing going on. She's got a lot of life. She's a quite successful streamer. It's just, that was my childhood. We
Yeah.
grew up together. I feel like we would have had so much to speak about, and it could have been a
Completely.
really nice thing to immortalize. But I think we caught her too late.
Yeah,
I
when
think
it,
if
when it
we
comes
got her
down
a
to it,
year earlier, we might
we
have had it.
we actually did try and offer that. Christina's called Niachu, by the way, now on Twitch and
Near to,
YouTube.
yeah.
Niachu, yeah. And she's very successful streamer, very
Mm.
successful, hundreds of viewers, etc. I offered her to come on, and she said, "No, it's just not really my kind of cup of tea." I went, "Oh, but like it'd be cool. It's just me and Joe. We've known each other for years." She edited up my 15K sub special. She's known Joe for years, but she seems like she's got a taint, like a kind of a tainty kind of like I know image or something. I don't know. It's kind of a shame, but she was one of the people that are down in the archive section. If for TFP we've got the to-do list, which is where we've got scripts that we've done or we're working on. Then we've got the done section, but we've also got ideas of people who we want to get on. Archive are people that we've actually invited on, but they've never accepted or they turned it down. Test Tom is one of them. The Gaming Mods is one of them. Minecraft and Chill, UNK, Nyachu, Indecisive Prophecy, Hero Fox, HN Gamers, Frenzied Gamers, Dave Ventura, Crooked Rain, Aussie Gamers, Modest 517, and Ted Teddy. That's just ideas.
Whilst we're on the topic of just like going over episodes and like specific critiques and stuff, I will say I am infinitely, and I've said this since the day it happened, infinitely disappointed in Hilo Souls' episode.
Yeah,
And I don't know why no one could notice the mic problem. I don't know why it came through only in the recording. Because it was fine in the moment, right?
It was
no
fine
one
in the moment, at least
it.
from what I realized. I thought it was a fun episode. I think he looked back on it quite poorly, and you did as well, and I kind of do as well. But I also think it's a moment, it's an era.
I don't think if you were looking at it as like raw text, right? The whole conversation is good. I just think that mic quality does ruin everything. Like I genuinely think is that for something that is an audible based piece of media, that ruins it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, 100%. When it comes down to it, we actually did have you kind of petitioned for this a little bit, like the idea of remastering Heela's episode. I don't feel he's ready. I'm not in the best terms with Hilo right now, unfortunately, either. But like, I do not think he is at all ready where he needs to be in his YouTube creation career. You could say.
It's funny. I actually think we've had this conversation a few times on and off podcast, and my opinion has varied. And I actually think, in the grand scheme of things, I agree. I do not think he's ready to come back on. I do not think that is correct. However, if I had the ability to have never done the original, I think it would. I would redo it. I would redo it. But I don't know. It's annoying because he's very stop and starty, and I think he has potential. I just don't think he has drive, and that's really important. And I'm saying this out of a place of empathy because I don't have a lot of drive at the moment, and I think that's 90% of the game. Starting is always the hardest part. But no, I do hope at some point he pushes and we can get a reason to have him on, because I think one, redoing it for the justice of the original, maybe even you building bridges again. Obviously, I think by the time we get around to that, you guys will be fine. But it's it is what it is. I'm not fussed, but I just think it would be nice to redo, and the only reason I bring it up is because I think that episode was tarnished. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think there will be an era where it could maybe be redone. I think he needs to grow a lot, and he needs to find who he is. That's Hilo's always been his biggest problem. Hilo is an imitator. He imitates other creators that he admires, which is totally fine, whether it be Jay Schlatt or other people. He imitates them and tries to become them and make that
I
as
think
content, which is
Vanosh and Schlatt are very
yeah,
big
the two biggest
examples of
influences.
that,
Yeah. And I
which
think
is
that
fine,
that's
but
that's yeah, that's fine to have someone that you're inspired by and you want to be like, but you can't be
individuality is a
them.
big thing, right? Like I
Exactly.
take a lot of inspiration from people like Pyro, which you say you see in some videos,
Oh yeah, for
but I
sure.
don't think at any point I come across as
You are
Pyro, you
Pyro.
know?
No, you are
Yeah,
your own
like
person. That's the thing, and
yeah.
that's a big distinction. But yeah, I think that's just in time. That's in growth.
Mm.
Another thing we want to talk about the season, moving on from talking about the episodes in which are our favorite, least favorite, etc., and kind of wrapping towards the end of the show, because we do have some big stuff to talk about. We want to talk about the changes that have been made this season. Now they're not super important, but these are just little things that we've worked on. They're kind of quick things. I mean, one of the kind of first and easiest one is that we moved all the podcast scripts over from Google Docs to Notion for easier access and better productivity. This is
Also
kind of
changed the name of the podcast collaboration episodes from gold rated to yellow rated, which we did
yeah.
actually bring up earlier.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We the gold rated name was cool, but it made it sound like they were better than other episodes because they weren't
yeah,
quite
I think it held it at such a
valid.
high regard. It's like, oh, the gold one. But like, if there's only
It's
one,
like,
people are going to go, oh, maybe. Say if you're a new viewer, if you come over, you're like, oh, well, I'll just watch the gold rated one. But that will
yeah,
not do this show's justice. In fact,
that's not going to do us
it,
justice.
it
Yeah,
almost gets to a point where it's like, I don't think you could say to anyone, yeah, watch it from the beginning, right? Like, I feel
no,
like whoever
yeah,
you are, whoever you know, or whatever your comedy perspective is, or how you enjoy media, you will be hand picking episodes of people, right?
yeah.
Like,
Whatever you
I'm not sure
prefer,
if we made one, but I think I said to you at one point, I'd really like to
a
do
tier list.
a tier list, but also what I was going to say is a playlist of Master Nick's favorites and Catman Joe's favorites,
Oh, that'd be a nice idea.
and
Yeah,
and we could even
like
just have
an
our top
option.
threes now. Like, we
Yeah,
could do
yeah, you
that,
know what I mean. Yeah,
and
and
I
like
think it'd
have
be
that as like
cool.
a little playlist of like in an order that we preferred them in, like that we would
Yeah, yeah,
recommend you start if you're going to watch the show. I agree with that.
yeah.
But yeah, so we moved all the podcast scripts over, like what Joe said. We changed the color, the naming from gold rated to yellow. We invested in Opus clips so that we could fully catch up on shorts from all the latest episodes in our new era, which is episode 22 to now 60. Only making short slash highlights from blue rated or purple rated episodes. This was like awfully difficult. I went through and was making shorts for every episode from 22, at least 3 shorts from every episode from 22 to the latest episodes, and it was fucking painful. Opus clips, do not invest in it, do not get it. It was not worth the money in hindsight. It was cool for subtitles, but it had a lot of bugs. It was very janky. It gave us a lot of random suggestions for like, that's a good clip to make. And it was like, what? But it doesn't make any sense.
I think
It,
Opus Clips was a cool concept, and I think also the prospect of AI sounds really inviting in the moment when you realize you can eradicate hours of work.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And also, you've then got the backbone of saying, well, this is an AI because it's only an AI tool and not like, you
Yeah,
know.
actual AI, yeah.
In hindsight, I will still say I quite like Opus Clips. I
Yeah,
don't
it's not
think it is
terrible.
valuable for the
The money
podcast,
it's
and I
costs,
think
yeah.
yeah, and also yeah, for cost effectiveness, it's not worth it. But also, we did actually kind of be in cahoots with the creators at one point, and we were just draining
Yeah.
them of points, so
We got extra minutes.
they weren't actually like bending us raw. It's
No,
just like
no,
yeah,
no. But yeah, so we done that. We caught with those. We also revived the highlights channel, which was a funny one. If you don't know, we've had the Forgotten Podcast highlights channel for years now, but we eventually abandoned it. Then we revived it, and we abandoned it. We more recently revived it, and then we eventually abandoned it again because YouTube upped the short limit from just to 60 seconds to 3 minutes. And we went, well, now we don't really need a highlights channel because if it is a longer part of the conversation, we can put that there. Beyond that, we changed the way we produce episodes as opposed to how we originally produced episodes with us asking all the guests we had planned for an upcoming season if they'd be interested in coming on at the same time, resulting in sometimes the guests that are at the very end of the queue being, having to wait for months and stuff to come on. We instead were asking them on an episode by episode basis. So that's something that we still kind of had a bit of issue with this season because we didn't really get to fully implement it. But the idea was more, we would message someone like Fedstone and say, do you want to come to the show? Yeah, I do. Then we spend the next week or two working on the script, preparing, and then we can get them on the show within a month or within a couple of weeks, so that there's no chance or less of a chance of them becoming flaky guests, like what we mentioned prior. Because we did kind of want to try and stop that from becoming the case. Although we still will be planning episodes in advance by season because it makes things a little bit easier. And then lastly, in this kind of the smaller thing, I reworked the descriptions of newer episodes to include less links and be more pleasant to look at. Every episode from the now episode 60 down to episode 1, all the descriptions have been cleaned up with like the latest of links so that they're all up to date and so that it's not outdated or looks unclean or unkept and stuff. And that was really us for changes in general when it comes down to it. And I guess that takes us up to right now, the future of the show, what we're doing.
So basically, we're never uploading
Ever
again, and
again.
we're all moving to Kick. So
Yes.
we'll see
Kick and
you over
Rumble.
there, and we
Yes.
are and Clutch. We're gonna get on Clutch. We're
Yes.
gonna
Clutch
revive
Gaming, going to
Clutch.
revive it. Yeah. No, we kind of have the announcement, which we've already talked about kind of publicly, privately, and on streams and whatnot. We're ending the show for now. We're not ending the show forever. I don't know what Joe's doing. I showing us the ceiling to
Sorry,
help.
my camera's being a bit
Oh, you're fine. You're
mental.
fine.
I'm gonna put him back where he was.
We're not ending the show forever. We do want to just clarify that TFP, regardless of how we feel at the moment or whatever, it will always hold a very special place in our heart. I look at it as the archive for our friend group, for us, for how we've changed, for how our friends have changed. It's an archive of all the creators that we've known, had the pleasure of knowing and meeting, who have ever came on our show, being where they were at that point in time. And like like what we mentioned, of course, it shows us moving houses, evolving, changing, growing, and becoming now young adults and young men. And I really value for it. I value it for that, and always will. But we, as of right now, neither of us really have the commitment, time, or energy to put energy into this show the way we'd want to do it if we were really serious
I
about
think
doing
we've
it.
got a lot of things that we want to be doing elsewhere that where we could mitigate that energy as well. I also think, not to throw this in here, but we've had this conversation before, but I also think it would be really nice at one point between now and when we start again to really discuss how
we
we
want to do
play
it.
out episodes, because I think there should be more of a balance of how we do things. And I don't think that's me in any way going, hey, I think you own this and I don't, because it's not the case
No.
at all.
But there
However,
definitely needs
I
to be a
do
balance of
feel,
work and how we think, how we do
yeah,
things.
I think you work a lot harder than I do on this because it's your skill set, it's how you work.
But I'm also a control freak in that regard. I am fully
Yeah,
steering the ship because I'm like, oh no, but green rated or conversational episodes won't be interesting,
yeah.
like those, whatever. And you're like,
I
no, but I
just,
like the relaxed feeling, Joe. Like
yeah,
that's what you're about.
I just feel like I thrive better in conversation based content, because I mean I do my own scripts and stuff, but that's when I've thought about it for ages, and it's hard for me to come up with so many questions on ex YouTuber I've not
Yeah,
heard of
never
before,
heard of, never met.
and
Yeah.
that's not a disrespectful thing. I just don't think it's. I don't want the image that I present of me to be, oh, that's just the guy that sits there and doesn't say all that much, because I think I've got way more to offer than that. And
Joe,
that's
you
no detriment. And I want to say this to
no.
everyone watching it, to Joe's ability, because phenomenal writing scripts, knows the formula, knows what he's doing. He's done it. That's why he's got 70K. I'm infinitely proud of him myself. I just think it would be really cool at one point for me to get out there. And I think that's something I've struggled, not only here, but on my own stuff for a while. Like script writing has been a big part of that. But I also think in the moments when we are having our banter and, having guests on that have that banter, I think that's when it really does feel like our project, because we have this good chemistry.
Yeah, we work
Whereas
very well.
I think structure dies. No, I think chemistry dies when structure comes into play.
I'd understand that.
Not always, but I think it's
But it can a lot of
restrictive.
the time.
Yeah, especially if the guest we get on is quite regimented, right?
We have talked about this privately, myself and Joe, and it's always been a bit of a conflict because I have always, I want Joe to do more, but then it's also a matter of, right, but are you going to let Joe do more? And it's also a matter of, Joe and I have different visions for what we want here. We both we love the podcast for what it is, but we both also have different visions for how we would produce things. If you look at Joe and her in terms of like what you said earlier on, his favorite episodes, his favorite things, much more relaxed, very fluid conversations that were perhaps scripted, but a lot more relaxed and fluid, and also enjoyable and good people and whatever. And also regards to like how we produce episodes, mine are quite rigid and very stiff. And I mean, even I spoke to Rhea about that, and she's went, even the questions you can often answer them for your guests by yourself, and how long and drawn out they are. And I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, we definitely, if we're coming back with season 6 or episode 60 or 70, we would have to revise how we do it, and it'd have to be a split in the middle of, all right, well, you do half the season, I do half the season, and we kind of have a mix of in between what we like to do and stuff.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. I don't think we scrap the whole interviewing thing. I think that is good.
No.
But maybe
But
I wouldn't be opposed to the idea that they were a bit more of a not a rare occurrence, but like maybe
half and
an
half.
alternating thing, because I don't know. And I also don't know what we would inherently speak about, because I remember when we did conversational stuff at the time, even then, that wasn't really us. I don't even think that was you at the time, because
we talked about
I
like
remember,
Ukraine and stuff, and the war
I
in Ukraine, and
think
we're
you
like,
were
what the fuck?
very. I mean, we spoke about like so many like controversial events randomly, and I think that's because I know you're very prone to trends and stuff, and like what will do well and what's topical.
Totally.
And that is a good thing. That's a very good skill to have. One that I aspire to have, but as you know, I don't, because I can't do what's popular and new. That
It's
stresses
just
me
not what
out.
you enjoy doing. That's the thing. Yeah.
But I genuinely think for longevity's sake, and also for creating a brand identity that people can go, oh, that's that funny like duo that do things and chat with people.
Yeah.
It comes across better, as opposed to, oh well, I just watched a video on the Ukraine-Russia conflict and then forget about it 3 years later. Like, it's just,
it's irrelevant. Yeah, it doesn't age well as well. It's kind of like,
it doesn't brand us well.
No,
It makes us one and done, which is good for
Yeah.
views in the moment. It's not good for longevity.
Yeah, definitely I agree. There would have to be a revision to how we produce episodes, and also our formula and whatnot, and that's something that we will speak about at some point. And the main reason we're taking a break right now, like what we said, is a lack of time. It's also a lack of commitment, because Joe is at a different point in his life. I'm at a different point in my life. I am right now personally, like for me, and I'll let Joe say his piece in a minute, I am focusing primarily on my health. I'm trying to lose weight and cut from 236 pounds all the way down to 170, which is a lot. And on top of that, I'm just trying to make YouTube work and Twitch work and do my stuff 100,000%. So I can't really commit myself to writing scripts and planning episodes, and it stresses me out. And that's me there. I'll let Joe say his piece, because that's my priorities right now. That's why
I would say mine is very like in the sort of same vein, kind of. It's a mixture of things. I want to say originally it was fitness, and also the ability to have a creative output, because I've got a few, but I've never committed to them, because that's a problem I have. But I also find that because I've got a lot of mental fogginess, that makes it hard to do that sort of thing, right? Which is why I started working out. I work out for my mental health mainly than my physical health, but I would also like to be better physically, which I haven't been trying to do. Like right now, it's really awkward. I'm trying to gain and lose weight. Like there's bits where I really need to lose weight, and there's bits where I really need to gain weight, and that's a really stressful place to be. I also want to say, I'm not going to talk about too much mainly, but I've had some mental health problems, and I actually saying that tomorrow, like I have my first session of therapy. That's daunting, but I also feel like once I've got more of that done, and I've got more physical stuff done, and I feel fitter, I will have more time to sit down and go, well, that's all fine. I can finally start. And I want to say the past 6 months, I have been working on a lot of projects, and this includes different channels. There's the main one, there's the Masked Cynic channel, there's the Tricolon Joe channel, and then there's also Helmsman. This is the first time I've brought all of this up, like in like a public space.
Format. Yeah.
Because like, to put it out there, Masked Cynic is the nerdy, like we're going to talk about video games and random crap. Tricolon Joe is going to be, I don't know how to explain it, but like people, if you've ever watched like Zach Aslop, Max Fosh, that sort of thing. It's going to be like IRL random stuff. I want to be more creative with my outputs and stuff. And then Helmsman is where I'm going to start doing my film projects, where I want to actually make some sort of cinematic experience that I've been writing for ages. And, I just want to put more of myself out there in different venues, because as much as I love Masked Cynic, and I will still continue to do this, be this, and produce stuff for it, it's, I think, restrictive, especially when you always, and there's a lot of times where I don't want to talk about video games, or I don't want to talk about that sort of thing. And I've had a lot of dry spells when it comes to that sort of thing. And I think balancing the Forgotten podcast over 3 semi-active channels, well, I say semi, 2 of them haven't started properly, but there's the video, there are videos there on private. I have, there's going to be sessions where I'm actually going to have to book days, right, to like go do them and film IRL with cameras, lights, and stuff. Like on the 10th of July, I don't think this will probably already be out by then, but I've actually scheduled with my friend to drive me an hour up the country for a joke, for one joke. And I think it's gonna be great. It's really silly, it's really stupid, but I think it'd be really fun to have a lot of cool, weird stories to tell. But the main bulk of the problem, because I rambled a little bit, is having TFP on top of MC, TJ, Helmsman is a lot, and that might be too much to swallow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's where we both are. We both love this. We will always, and we want to kind of really put that clearly out there. We completely love this project. We're not deleting the channel or anything. No, of course, we absolutely love what we do here. But it is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and also, of course, a lot of our commitment. Because I've got to be there, Joe's got to be there. We've got to make sure the script's right. We've got to rehearse. We've got to arrange with guests, which is always absolute hell when it comes down to it for a lot of times. And most of all, and the biggest thing that's kind of really stopping us at this very moment, why we're having to rush these episodes to pass, 3 out essentially, and kind of get them really pushed forward in production to get them recorded, has been the site that we use. This StreamYard.
StreamYard.
We've been using it now for a couple of years since episode 22. If you've been watching us from our legacy era, the minute we start using StreamYard, that is where we call it our new era, where we're at our best quality, because StreamYard was an amazing device, an amazing tool that we used that really helped us step up our podcasting
Doesn't the
game.
subscription literally run out in what, like 3 hours, 2 hours?
Well, 3 days. 3 days is July
Oh,
3rd.
midnight, right?
We're recording this on June 30th. It runs out on July 3rd. But yeah, the subscription for StreamYard has literally went up in price every single year. Originally, the site used to only cost maybe like $14 a month if you're paying monthly, maybe even like 20, and if you're paying per year, it's like up to like $13. It wasn't bad. It was manageable. That genuinely, all things considered, was not too expensive. And if we wanted to pay for it, that was feasible. But then they've upped the price because StreamYard started getting really primarily business from big corporations, big companies that are wanting
Like
to stream
it
to lots of
became
people.
almost like a Zoom substitute. Like it's not
Essentially, it
really
has.
a creator based thing anymore. It's not that indie project
No.
that helps people grow. It's like, oh, Zoom and
Yeah.
Teams, because
Yeah.
that's the
And
sort of people that will buy into it.
literally, and because of that, it's also went up in price. So it went up from being, say, $15-$20 a month to now, and they also destroyed the version that we used to pay for, that was like the cheap version, that was 720p quality. They removed that and upped it to 1080p, and we got budgeted up because that was what our original subscription was. But now, for us to pay for Core, which is the lowest membership on this, it costs $44.99 a month. That is, and by the
That's
way,
nearly
that
my gym membership.
literally $44.99 a month, and it's $35.99 a month that we pay per year, and that's only the core version. The advanced version is $8 to $8.99 per month, which is just bananas. So if we're paying per year, like that literally comes out to being $431 a year.
And to
Now,
put on perspective as well, quickly, sorry to cut you
no,
off,
no,
but
you're
I
fine.
think also Joe specifically says here as well about how this is a passion project. And I want to say that that is absolutely true, because we have not made a single penny off this channel. So
Like
all of this
wholeheartedly.
money, that we're spending is out of, straight out of pocket. It's not,
It always has been.
yeah,
Yeah.
which
For
is
buying
which is
Opus,
fine,
for
but
no, yeah,
it's
but
yeah.
for us to pay for Opus, for us to pay for StreamYard, to do all this stuff for the all of that was out of pocket. We just paid out because we loved this show that much, and that just shows our commitment. But with the Nomads now disbanding, Xavier and Hilo were the essentially, we split this payment of like $430 four ways. And originally Joe took 25%, I did, Hilo did, and Xavier did, and it was a kind of fair split. And it was still expensive, but we could all afford it, and it was like, all right, for a little passion project, that's fine. But not only have the prices went up then, but also as well on top of that, we also now know that the other guys have all cut off. So from here, we'd be having to pay it half and half, which is just not feasible for us both. And with season 5 taking 2 years to produce, and on top of that as well, not really being the most successful, we gained, to give you some statistics for this year, 37,500 views, primarily from the 60 plus YouTube shorts we uploaded, or the 100 plus YouTube shorts.
And that's from 2 years of work.
2 years. That was 37,000 views, 354 watch hours, and we lost 18 subscribers. In 2 years, we never gained anything. We've lost. You have to put things into perspective of like value, and if we can't make this for free and it costs us money, it's performing worse than both our personal channels, and on top of that as well, we're losing subs.
My uploads have been dead, by the way, and I gain subs, so
Of course,
I
and
don't
views.
understand it. Yeah, well, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that's why would you focus on that negative? It's
It doesn't make
stupid.
any sense. It's kind of why we are at this point where we're at, and we're like, listen, not only of our own personal reasons gave us an excuse to like, we need to call it quits for here, but also financially, we just can't afford to use the site anymore. So for the future, whenever we do choose to step back into it, which will probably be eventually, maybe in a year, who knows, whatever. When we're both in better positions, we're both financially in better positions, but also as well generally in better positions in our life, and we've evolved and we've got more things, more free time, whatever. And we've also most of all found an alternative to StreamYard. We will come back, most likely. We will definitely come back with an episode at some point. But as for
I
right
actually
now,
refuse to live the rest of my life without hitting 100 episodes. Actually, though.
yeah, no, yeah, we can make that as a rule of
And
thumb.
I do have an alternative for you. I won't say on stream, but I do
Okay,
have
yeah,
an
yeah.
alternative for you.
So yeah, that's where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. That is the future of the Forgotten Podcast. After this episode is released, we will be leaving the entire of the channel in an archive state, meaning that everything is still going to be watchable, fully usable, and enjoyable. And we will probably still check on the channel from time to time and talk about it. But both of us are working on individual passion projects, and no doubt work together on projects as well. But we'll be doing our own things, and we'll be taking a break to focus on ourselves and our own projects as opposed to the podcast. But again, you will be able to watch everything still. It will all still be here, and we are even potentially considering allowing you to watch all the unedited full versions of the podcast.
That actually could be very incriminating.
Yeah, but we have been very much aware of the fact that we've said some awful things in those episodes. But there's hundreds of hours of unedited and unseen footage. So at some point in the future, whether when we get memberships or whatever, or when we're comfortable, we will release that as an option. But for now, this is the current state of the Forgotten Podcast. I don't act like we're leaving it on a sour note. Listen, the channel has been going now for almost 6 years. In general, it'll be 6 years this October. And in 6 years, yeah, we haven't accomplished a hell of a lot, but we've had 60 successfully awesome podcast episodes. Maybe some that have not been the best, really. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know what I mean? No, but like we've had some episodes. I'm just kidding, but like we've had some episodes that haven't been the best.
How long does it actually take you to watch every single episode? Right, it's within like the 300s, right? Like surely,
literally, yeah. But we've produced 60 episodes, 130 shorts. We've literally put so much of ourselves out into the internet, the fucking
at such vast different parts of our lives. Well.
Yeah, it's insane, and we're proud of it. We are proud of the Forgotten Podcast. It's one of my best and most well-made online
I do really
ever.
want people to actually realize that as well, because I think we're very critical.
Oh yeah,
and I don't want people to think like, oh, we're shutting up shop, and this was bad and that was bad. That could have been better. Like,
we're very critical of it because it's our favorite project. That's what it is. But like, it's also something that we're very proud of. So we done well though. 6 years. Yeah, we haven't achieved monetization. We came very close. We didn't achieve it, but we did get almost 100,000 views. We're at 93,000 at the minute. We got almost 100,000 views, 1.8k subs. 60 successful podcast episodes. We know plenty of people that started podcasts that never got past episode 5, never mind 10.
There's a whole 60. Cliche and a joke that everyone has a podcast.
Yeah.
How many people who actually have started a podcast have
kept it
literally,
going?
like you said, like past 2 episodes?
Yeah. We've went for years and we've continuously kept developing the show, making it better as well. If you watch every 10 episodes, we've talked continuously about how we've improved the show and made it a little bit better each time. And I genuinely feel like we have, even with this season, we've learned a lot that we will take into the next season eventually and make that a lot better. And we do promise to do that. But until then, for now, this will be goodbye. And it could be a little while. It could be a year, could be a couple of months, who knows? But we will come back with new episodes in a much better format as well, with higher quality, no doubt, and a lot more interesting guests that we can't wait to have on the show, because there's a lot of our friends that we even know now.
We're also yet to meet half of the guests that probably hop on.
Yeah, essentially. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching this episode and the Forgotten Podcast from both myself and I'm sure Joe. It's been an absolute privilege being able to do this show, and I don't want to make it seem like we're ending it forever, because we aren't, but we're taking a break.
No, but let's say I get hit by a bus tomorrow. It's
we've wrapped it up in a good way, in a sense.
Yeah.
We came full circle. We've with this season, the big primary focus was talking about the old episodes a little bit and kind of remastering those that deserve to be remastered, and we've done that. And if you look at the overall theme, the golden era, this entire season, the theme was creators starting in their career and ending their career, or giving up with YouTube. And it kind of feels fitting to use this season and the premise of this season as the catalyst to us exiting the show, at least for a little while. But again, we will be back in the foreseeable future. But until then, thank you all so much for watching this episode. Please go check out Joe's channel, of course, Mass Cynic, and his passion projects, all of which will be linked down below. Check out my YouTube channel, of course, and if you want to contact us or speak to us, we'll be around daily. We'll always be around. We'll always be doing bits and pieces on our own projects and our own channels. And we're
if you
still
see me in the street, just come up to me and smack me, and I'll be like, "Oh, you've watched the episode, you know?"
Oh, you've seen the episode. That's good. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching this episode of the Forgotten Podcast, episode 60. And Joe, thank you, man, for being alongside me, of course, and us both working together for 6 years to make this.
I hate it.
All the crazy moments. I hate it here as well.
Untie me now. God damn.
But yeah, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you all later on. And until the next episode, whenever it may be, for me and future Joe as well, we hope you'll be keeping well. Bye-bye.
Adios.
I am quite intrigued to know how we'll look in episode 61, whenever that does happen.
How we will actually be 61.
Yeah, that's what we'll be. 61 years old. That's what it'll be.
Can you imagine though? Like if we actually leave it and it'd be like 3 years later, and I'm like fucking in my mid-20s, and you're like late 20s.
Imagine, bro.